Howdy, Algebra Cats. How my old cats doing today? Good to hear. Hopefully you're doing as well as I am. Now today what we're going to do is we're going to do percent of whole equations. Now I know some of you cats in middle school, they be teaching you the something over something equals something over something method, but we're in Algebra 1 now, so we're going to learn a formula and do it the algebraic way. Now, for percent of a whole word problems, alright, we're going to learn this formula, and you got to know it. And I'm going to learn it in 3 ways, alright? First off, okay, I got A is equal. A is equal, that's the first. P percent of dot B. Everyone say that now. A is equal, P percent of dot B, or of times B. Of means times, is means equals. Now, how do we use this in a word problem? Say we got 16 is what percent of 32? Just remember the A is the part. That's the smaller part of the big part, which is the base. That's the part versus the base. Is means equals, okay? A is equal. P is the percent or decimal, and we'll go over that in a minute. Of dot B, of dot means multiply, and B means whole. That's the big number. What means variable to solve, and that's important, cats. Whenever you see the word what, whenever you see this word what, that's what you're solving for in the equation. So if I have 16 is what percent, okay, 16 is, I would set that up. Oh, by the way, first thing you're going to do is you're going to write A is equals P percent of dot B. You're going to do this on every problem on your homework. So 16 is, so that would be 16 is. P percent, well, we don't know what the percent is, so that's a variable, of 32. So time 32. And that's how we'd set it up, and we'd solve for P percent. Now, before we move forward, you got to understand how to convert percents to decimals. So basically, all right, 160, right? It's like saying 160 divided by 100, because percent means per 100. All right, well, if I have 160% to a decimal, I would make that to equal 1.6. All you're doing is going over 2 places. That's what you're doing. All you do is going over 2 places. So 84%. Well, what would that be? I go over 2 places. That'd be 0.84. 12%, I'm going to go over 2 places, and that gives me 0.12. Them's the easy ones, all right? Now, here's the tricky-dicky part, the thing that cats always be messing up. And I don't want you to mess it up. You'll get it right. I know you will after my learnings. 3%. If it's between 0 and 9, there's going to be a 0 in front. All right? So 3%, okay, that's below 10. So it's going to be 0.03. I can't tell you how many cats write that down as 0.3, and that's 30%. Ain't the same. I got 1.5%. Well, I got to put a 0. Maybe you're going over 2 places. So that's got to be 0.015. See how we go from percent to decimal. Go over 2 places to the left. Oh, now this is a tricky one. That's going to be a real small number, right? That's a real small one. So 3%, I've got to go over, okay? And I get 0.003. All right? Now, let's move on. All right, let's do our first problem. 3 is what percent of 25? All right, well, what do I got here? 3 is, so that's going to be 3 equal. Okay, what percent's my solving? That's the what, that's what I'm solving for. So that's going to be P percent, and then of 25 means time 25. So 3, okay, is what percent of 25? Well, this is just a one-step equation. It's P percent times 25. So I'm going to divide by 25. So when I divide by 25 there, I got to divide by 25 here. And then what are you going to do? You're going to get your handy dandy calculator. And if you ain't got no calculator, Get your phone out, because everybody got a phone now with a calculator on it. All right, so 3, okay, divided by 25 equals 0.12 equal. Bring down your p%. But we want to know the percent. So what are we going to do? We're going to go the other way. We're going to move that decimal to the other side. And that ends up being 12% equals p. So my percent equals 12%. Everybody see how we did that? Let's move on. 190 is what percent of 200? Well, 190 is, so that's going to end up being 190 equals p%. We don't, what percent? We don't know what the percent is. So we're just going to write p% there, and then of 200. So that's going to be time of 200. Good so far. 190 is, A is equal. Okay, what percent? What's our variable? So that's what we're putting there. Of 200, B is your whole. So time 200. Well, I'm going to solve for p%. So I'm going to divide by 200. Come over here, divide by 200. All right, that cancels out. Get your p% equals. Take your 190, divide by 200, and that equals 0.95. But I don't want it as a decimal. I want it as a percent. So I'm just going to move it over the other way. And that gives me 95% equals P. And I am done. Now think about it for a moment. Every time you do one of these, make sure you did it right. All right, 190 is how much of 200? Well, 190 is really close. So it's close to 100%. 190 is real close to 200. Well, does 190 look about 95% of 200? Yeah, I think so. All right, let's move on. All right, this one, we got a little different what. We got a what is. So what is, well, that means it's going to be A equals, because what is means variable, 46%, but we got to turn that into a decimal. So we're going to go to 2 places and make that 0.46 time of 600, so times 600. Well, that's not too hard. What do I got to do here? Since my variable's on this side, I'm just going to multiply these two. So you're going to get your handy-dandy calculator, and you're going to go 0.46 times 600, and that equals 276. So A equals 276. Box around your answer. And does that make sense? That just a little under half, 46 is close to 50%. A little under half of 600 is 276. That sounds about right. Moving along, 133 is what percent of 380? So 133 is, so that's going to be the 133 equals part. What percent? Oh, there's the word what, so we're going to solve for the percent, so we're going to bring it down as a variable of 380. Well, this time, p%'s on the right, our variable's on the right, so we got to get rid of the 380, divide by 380, divide by 380, and then I look at my business, I take my calculator, and I go 133 divided by 380, and that equals 0.35 equals p%, but we don't want it we don't want the decimal, we want it as a percent, so I move it over 2 places, and that becomes 35% equals P. Boom, bada, bing. Now, 133 is about 35% of 380. Well, have a 380 be 150, 190, so yeah, 133, that'd be about 35%. Sounds good to me. Ooh, this tricky dick. If what is a 5.9% of 7,000? Round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, now when talking about the decimal places, if I have 3.278, the 2 would be the 10th place, the 7 is the 100th place, okay, and the 8 would be the 1,000th place. Okay, so we know that. Alright, so here's the thing. We got what is, so we're solving for A, right? But here's the tricky part. 5.9%, that's less than 10, between 0 and 10. So that means I got to put a 0 in front to make it a decimal. So this becomes 0.059, okay, times, okay, of 7,000 times 7,000. So now you take your handy dandy calculator, you turn it on and you go, let's see, 0.059 times 7,000. And that equals 413. All right, so what that's saying is that 5.9% of 7,000 would be 413. That's a pretty big number. All right, here I'll let you take a look. Boom, bada, bing. All right, what is 156% of 820? Well, once again, we got the what is, so that means A equals. Now, I got 156%. That's another tricky one, but it's going the other way. It's greater than 100. So to turn 156% into a decimal, you go over 2 places, and that's 1.56 times, well, of 820, so times 820. Going to get your handy dandy calculator out, okay? And I'm going to go 1.56 times 820, okay? And I get A equals 1,279.2. Well, 0.2 is at the 10th place. I don't need to go any further. Now, does that make sense? Okay, 100% of 820 would be 820. So, almost half that, more of that, and I'd be 1,279. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. All right, moving along. All right, what is 2.8% of 1? Well, first of all, there's no formula, but you've memorized it by now, right? And you know that formula is A is equal to P%, okay, of dot B, where A is the part and B is the whole. All right, what is means I'm solving for A, okay? How do I write 2.8%? Well, that, once again, that's below 10. So that's going to be 0.028, all right, of 1 times 1. Well, that's easy math. Do I really need a calculator? I'll use it, but I really don't, okay? I go 0.028 times 1 equals, A is equal to 0.028. So 2.8% of 1, which is a tiny number because it's out of 100, is 0.028. That sounds about right. All right, moving along. What is 194% of 550? 194 is greater than 100%, so it's going to be a 1-point decimal. All right, what's our formula? Every time you work a problem in your homework, you will write this formula down. I'll count off if you don't. A is equal to P%, okay, of dot B. So what is, that means we're solving for A. Now, 194%, move it over twice, and I get 1.94, okay, times, well, of 550, so times 550. So you take your handy dandy calculator here, and you go 1.94 times 550 equal, and I get A equals 1,067. 1,067. Well, does that make about sense? 194 is almost 200%. Okay? Well, 100% of 550 would be 550. 200% of 550 would be 1,100. Well, that's pretty dang close, isn't it? 194%. I think we're right. Moving along. 20 is 15% of what number? Now, this is a little tricky because we haven't done one of these yet. What's the first thing you do? You write the formula. A is equal P% of dot B. That way we'll always know the formula. That's how you learn it. Now, 20 is, so 20 equals 15%. So that's going to be 0.15. Move it over twice. Of what number? Oh, times B. So in this situation, we're solving for the B. We haven't done that yet. Of what number? Why do I know that's the one we're solving for? Because what is after the of. So this is 0.15 times B, so I'm going to divide by 0.15. And what you do in algebra, or what you do on one side, you do on the other. Well, that cancels out, and that gives me B equals, take your handy-dandy calculator, and you go 20 divided by 0.15 equal, and I'm getting 133.333. Okay, well, I only need to go to the hundreds place. So 133.33. Boom, bada bing, 10th place, 100th place. See how easy that is? Let's move on. Here's another one like that. 30 is 20% of what number? Well, A is equal P% of dot B. Now, once you get used to doing this, you won't have to write it every time. You'll just write the A equals P% times B. But until then, write it down, friendly cats. A is, 30 is. So that's going to be 30 is equal P%, 20%, 0.20, okay, of what number? Well, there's the word what. That means variable, and it's with the of, so that's times B. We're solving for B. All right, so that means I got to divide, because it's times B. I'm going to divide by 0.20. Divide by 0.20, and take your handy-dandy calculator. You go 30 divided by 0.20, okay? And that cancels out, and B equals 30 divided by 0.20 is 150. Does it make sense? Okay, 20% of 150 is 30. Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds about right. If I got something like 1,500 or I got 15, well, 30 is not 20% of 15. All right? That's in case you jacked up your decimals in business. So let's do a quick review of our decimals and percents, because it's really important that you understand. Now, I know you know that this is 1.35 as a decimal. 102% would be 1.02 as a decimal. 274% would be 2.74. Remember, all you're doing is moving the decimal over 2 places. Move that over 2 places, so 1,238% would be 12.38 as a decimal. Now here's where the cats always be messing up. Don't make this mistake. When you got a number under 10, you got to put a 0 in front. All right? Too many cats try to make that 0.3, and that's 30%. Not the same. Remember, 2 places over, you got to add the 0. 0.03. All right, 2 places over, because that's under 10, you got to add the 0. 0.085. You got 1.5%. Remember, you're going over 2 places. Got to add the 0 in there. 0.015. Now this one, okay. All right, so we going over 1, 2, and that's 0.0003. Okay? All right. Okay, so to close it out, my fine feathered friends, the percent equation, the equation for percent of a whole number is A is equal P% of dot B. Learn it in 3 places, learn it in the 3 steps, and always will get it right. A is equal to P% of dot B. Y'all have a great day and enjoy doing the homework, pals. Bye-bye.